Good afternoon, everyone, to the friends in Shanghai, Beijing, and other Chinese cities. Good morning to those joining in Europe, and I salute our American friends. This is a busy day for the US with the midterm elections. We have had a great meeting yesterday. My name is David Gosset, and I am the founder of the China-Europe-America Global Initiative. And as I was telling you yesterday, we started the second dialogue in the framework of the China-Europe-America Net Zero Transition Platform. It was a very rich moment with intense conversation on green finance. It went very well, and it was the perfect echo with what is going on in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, at the COP27. And we continued the conversation on the role of nonprofits and philanthropy for sustainability. Today, this is the second day of our forum, and we will discuss two main topics. One, the role of eco-fashion, a double meaning clearly for eco-fashion, eco-brands and eco-trends. And we will finish with what is absolutely key, the role of youth for sustainability. I wanted to pass the floor to the chairman of the first session, Professor Louis Godard, and apparently he has some issues in Rome. I hope it is not so serious a problem. Louis Godard was with us yesterday. Maybe he's going to join us. In that case, I will give him the floor, of course. I was not supposed to chair the first session, but I am very happy to do it because I am very excited and intellectually stimulated by the concept of eco-fashion. Now, of course, at the China-Europe-America Net Zero Transition Platform, we believe very much in international cooperation, and especially in the synergies between China, Europe, and North America, and actually the Americas. So for us, the international dimension of what we do is absolutely fundamental. And I am therefore very happy to introduce the first panelist, the speaker of our second day conversation, Mr. Bernardo Cabot from Spain, a great business leader, but I would say also an outstanding bridge between Europe and China. And why a bridge? Because in the hospitality industry, in fact, the hospitality industry is also about culture. So you have brought Spanish culture in China. So many Chinese friends, they go to Europe and they stay in your hotels, and therefore Melia clearly is a very important bridge. Dear Bernardo, the floor is yours to tell us about what you are doing at Melia for sustainability in order for us to manage the challenges of the Anthropocene, a concept that we have used also yesterday. Bernardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, China-Europe-America Global Initiative, for inviting me, but especially for inviting Melia Hotels International, the company I represent today. And it's an honor to open the session because we are used to welcome guests in our hotels. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you for having me in these 5-10 minutes in order to welcome to my world, which is hospitality. And good afternoon from Shanghai. Beautiful day in Shanghai, beautiful autumn. So thank you very much. If you don't mind, even I will talk, but I would like to share some pictures and some images. So I will try to do it properly. Just give me 1 second. And I would like, David, if you can confirm, you can see my screen.
Absolutely, we can see it. Thank you, Bernardo.
So, as I said, welcome to the world of hospitality. Welcome to C.E.A. Hotels International, as I said, a Spanish company. I represent, let's say, the Asian branch from Shanghai, but I just want to invest 30 seconds in introduce our company, because today is not the case that we have to introduce too much information about us. But I want to highlight a couple of messages. Number one is we are the number one leisure group worldwide, number one hotel group in Spain, 13th in Europe, 20th in the world. But for today's topic, we are the second most sustainable hotel company based on the worldwide, based on the Standard & Poor's Global Sustainability Yearbook 2022. And at the same time, recently, the Chinese University of Hong Kong appointed us as a top 10 hospitality company in terms of their sustainability index, which is relevant for the conversation we are having today. But in order to have an idea of what the company has, is about more than 300 hotels worldwide and 9 brands spread along the world. So I just want to share a couple of messages from our industry. What we see today is wellness and sustainability have been at the top of the agenda for consumers in the last decades. And we cannot be blind on that. And in the travel industry, travelers, they see these ethical trips, they take much more importance to concepts like wellness, sustainable living, digital living, shopping, reinvent the generation gaps, etc. But at the top, we have wellness and sustainable living. And this is something we, the industry, have to pay attention. Something else I would like to share with you, specifically in China, is with the rapid development of industrialization and urbanization, Chinese residents' awareness of sustainability, in our opinion, is gradually increasing. And this promotes the development of environmental protection industry. So according to some research, the people now is looking for shorter transportation and other kind of vacations. So this is something hospitality has to take in consideration. And today, what I would like to do I would like to introduce to you our concept of travel for good, because today I think is a right moment to understand what our company is doing. And a beautiful way to summarize is introducing you into this concept, travel for good. But travel for good means good for the planet, good for the people, our people, good for the community, and governance for good. And in order to avoid my speech, I would like to share with you a very, very short video. hope that video captures your attention, but basically this is our program and our positioning in ESG, good for the planet, good for the people, governance for good, and good for the community with these topics. And because I wanted to show and share some of our experience, you can see here, for example, that in the Caribbean and in Southeast Asia, we eliminated bottles, glasses, bags, sorbets, and coasters, and are replaced by ones made from easily compostable materials. This is just an example, but at the same time, look at the beautiful opening at Melia Chiang Mai in Thailand recently, and we have organized this 360 cuisine program to help improve sustainability and encourage ethical production with the community in that area. Or let me show you this initiative, Soap for Hope program. Since Soap for Hope program was launched at the end of 2017, our company has made a lot of efforts to reduce the soap and plastic waste produced by our properties with a partner like Diversey. And please let me share in one more minute the experience of Soap for Hope. So another example is what we just launched in 2021 related to our Melia Rewards is the loyalty program of the company. So now the members of Melia Rewards loyalty program can exchange points for carbon credits certified by United Nations to support the selection of projects in developing countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We have 2 projects now, one in Brazil and one in Mexico. And this is the next one chapter. We will launch very soon in China. And following our Gran Melia brand sustainability focus and modern and creative program of supporting cultural sustainability in China and Spain, we will launch this campaign very soon. So, friends, I just want to finish with this statement, the fact that we are hoteliers at work. Hospitality is not just a business for us, it's our passion. And that passion is what drives us to respond to the global challenges faced by our planet, viewing sustainability as a fundamental means by which we can create a positive legacy for our planet and for our society. So I will stop sharing. And David, perhaps I use a little bit more time, but I wanted to show with passion my experience, our experience. Thank you for your patience, and I hope this has been a little bit interesting for everyone. Thank you, David. Thank you all.
It was fascinating, Bernardo, and I was very moved. I have heard about the Soap for Hope program, but this is something very important that you are doing. And we understand why Melia is also known for the work, you are doing for sustainability. Thank you very much, Bernardo. It was highly stimulating. And now, before we will have, in fact, a double welcome, because as you said, Bernardo, very well, hospitality is about welcoming, and we are very lucky today to have 2 outstanding representatives of 2 great hospitality brands But before we give the floor to Madame Cho Wei, I will give first the floor to Professor Louis Godard, who was supposed to start the chairmanship of this first session. But Professor, actually, we were very worried. But now that I can see you, I feel great. And you look wonderful. And so, Professor, I just introduced the eco-fashion panel, saying that we are at the intersection of eco-brand and eco-trend, if I may say, and it was very well illustrated by Bernardo Cabot. In any case, there is a demand for green brands. Therefore, the brands needs to go through a greening process, if I may say. So I said nothing. And I also summarized what happened yesterday. I gave the floor to Mr. Cabot, but now it's time for me to give you the floor, Professor, for you from Rome to guide us through this fascinating session on eco-fashion. Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Gosset. I am absolutely sorry it was impossible to connect before. We had an earthquake this night in Rome, and I think that's the source of the problems. Let me remember what you said yesterday, Professor Gosset. You were talking about philanthropy. I do believe that philanthropy must be the common denominator to our sessions. And philanthropy is the only key to try to solve the problems and to obtain this net zero we are hoping to obtain. Philanthropy means philos in Greece, friend, anthropos, men. Philanthropy is for the men who are friends of the humanity. And we must remember that, of course, we have in our hands the sort, as said Mrs. Bokova Yeri, the problem we have in our hands the problems of surviving of mankind. So after Mr. Bernardo Cabot, may I give the floor to Mrs. Joanne McEntee?
Sorry, Madame Cho Wei will speak first because there is a small change. And after Madame Cho Wei's speech, then it will be the order as you see it on the program. I apologize for this change.
No, I apologize for my delay, but I am not responsible. Yes, so.
Absolutely, and we hope everyone is safe in Rome. We didn't know about the earthquake.
There are problems in the east of Italy, Rimini and the Marche. It was quite a big earthquake. Yes, so.
Thank you, Professor. Madame Cho Wei, sorry, Madame.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gosset, and also thank you, Professor Goddard. First of all, I'm very sorry about what happened in Italy. So we hope that everybody is and will be safe there. And secondly, I was listening to Mr. Cabot's presentation about MELIA and their commitment to sustainability. I'm very much motivated and encouraged. I think MELIA has done a tremendous great job in leading the whole hospitality industry to see how we can also be more sustainable. So before I go into the details about what Jinjiang International, as the #2 hotel management company, has been doing in this aspect, I just want to highlight a few facts for those who do not know exactly what our global network is all about. So, of course, we are headquartered in Shanghai. But after several rounds of merger and acquisition, we have become this global second largest hotel company, second only to Marriott. So we have our Chinese brands here, like Jinjiang and also Vienna and Platino. But at the same time, the Louvre Hotel Group based in France, and also the Radisson Hotel Group based in Belgium, are also owned by Jinjiang. So together we have more than 10,000 hotels, over 1 million rooms in more than 120 countries and the region. So in the past, both Radisson and the Louvre, they are very down to earth and try to practice sustainability. But now, since we have put everybody together as one big company and a family, we believe that the Jinjiang International should do something to further promote the synergies and the collaboration on the track of sustainability. We believe that hotel is certainly a very good platform to achieve sustainability, even if a lot of attention, especially in China, have been given to this mining and manufacturing industry, which certainly are one of the largest carbon emission emitters. But we believe from the very beginning of the hotel construction to the hotel operation, there are many areas that we should do to reduce the emission and then to promote these sustainability awareness to our guests and our global travelers. So we believe this is a higher responsibility on our shoulder, given our global network. We think whatever we could do, even just a little bit, it can create a bigger impact at the global level. So we think that we need to start with the awareness, and then we go to action. Finally, we will measure the results. So we have done a customer survey among all our Chinese, China-based customer or loyalty members to see how they feel about sustainability at hotel levels in China. And we are very surprised and also pleased to see that 82% of the participants strongly believe that the guests' sustainable behaviors are very incentive, and they are more than willing to commit their actions and even a higher room rates to deliver the essential tours and, of course, the actions at the hotel level to reduce the emission. So we are very much encouraged by that. We believe there's awareness there and there's a willingness there. So therefore, on top of that, we started to take some actions. We started from China. For example, the Tencent is certainly a very famous China internet companies. They do have a big foundation, it's Tencent Foundation, under which they have a project called the Little Red Flower Low Carbon Room. So the idea is that we need to convert our hotel rooms to a low carbon ones. So as long as the guests stay with these low carbon rooms, they will get the virtual little red flower, and that's the flowers, to the foundation. And then the foundation will fund with the real money, into their charity projects, in line with the number of virtual flowers donated to the foundation. So we don't know how this would be responded. And of course, at the end, we are very surprised that more than 5,000 hotels in China, of our hotels, and more than 10,000 guests participate in this program. So you can see it's not just something on the lips, rather it's something in action and in everybody's hands. So we are very much encouraged by that. And then after that, we think we need to do something big. So that's why last year, 2021 May, our company, Jinjiang International, together with our family members, I say Radisson and Louvre, also together with other big hotel companies and the WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council, to launch a hotel sustainability basics. And actually, Melia, our dear friends, are also a key founding members of this basics. So the idea is we want to start with something. Because everybody talk about sustainability, but how can the travelers to measure you are doing the right thing or not, you are doing enough or not? So we need to start from zero, from the fundamental. We have identified the 12 actions that as a hotel operator, we need to achieve, all the way from the food waste to the water management, even to the local food sourcing, so on and so forth. We believe if you can deliver And if you can deliver the results on these 12 actions, that means you are on the track of sustainability. Otherwise, it's only words. Okay, we need to walk the talk. And then for the external stakeholders, they will be able to tell, okay, are you doing the right thing? Are you doing the basics? And then we also have our external partners to measure. Okay, if you claim to say, I'm doing this, then we have this party to certify what you have done. And then every hotel which has been certified to be, qualified, then they will get a certain logo, okay, to identify this is the hotel that meet this global sustainability basics. So it's very straightforward for our customers, okay, for our industrial players to know what you are doing. Okay, so that's a big campaign that was launched last year, and it was become official in this year in April. And so far, more than 50,000 hotels from 57 hospitality companies have been part of this global campaign. So we are very excited about this. And as one of the founding members, we will certainly be committed to that. And then this is fashion, I share with you a few examples, but Mr. Gosset, I think the journey towards sustainability is by no means easy. Because there are a lot of people either suspect that you are greenwash or you are thinking you just spend money, okay, and for the sake of the ESG reputation, and there won't be any benefits, okay, to the end users. So we think that we need to change that. So with the HSB, we think this basic is something measurable, okay, something consistent globally for people to check, okay, and then to judge. And the second challenge that we are facing is the whole world is blessed by diversity, okay, that is good. And then when it comes to sustainability, I have to say there are two levels. One is consistency, but there are some local diversity. Even with the concept of sustainability, be it a practice in China or Europe or even the US, people might have different local understanding, interpretation of what is sustainability in the hotel. So I believe that we should identify some local solutions to make sure that this is widely accepted, okay, by the local customers, okay, even if a travel business is a global business. I give you a very small example. In China, if you live with a 5-star hotel, okay, luxury hotel, you would expect your amenities with a luxury brands, okay, and small portion that you can take home as a souvenir, all right? But then from the pure sustainability perspective, they think it's not sustainable at all. You need to have this disposable big bottle that you cannot take away. Every time when the shampoo is used up, we need to fill in something into it. So that's not perceived as something very sustainable from one perspective, but also perceived as not luxury from another perspective. So how can you strike a balance? Okay, so that's something, at least for China, we need to find alternative solutions. Okay, or at least it takes time to educate the customers. Maybe someday, with this big bottle shampoos, okay, it's the new fashion of sustainability. It's a new fashion of luxury. But that takes time, so we cannot do it, like make it happen overnight. So that's why I'm thinking China has its China model of sustainability, so with the European Union, and of course with American or even other big regions or the countries. So that's the second challenge. And last but not least is who are the participants? Who are the stakeholders? Okay, we as a hotel company, we are very excited about this, but these hotels are not owned by us. It's only managed. So you cannot force a very key stakeholder, which is the owner of the hotels, to accept it. Okay, we do have very responsible, okay, owners who are willing to follow the track, okay, immediately. But there are also owners, they have doubt. So we have to think about a way to let them understand to do this, to be green, to be sustainable is actually good for your business. But again, you cannot only pay a lip service. You need to show them that really can bring benefits. So one example is, can we work with the OTAs, with our own, in our own website? As long as your hotels has reached up to the sustainability basics level, then your hotel will be moved up to one level higher, and as a result of the search for the search results. So then you will be more visible, rewarded as more visible in the search results. So in that way, I think the owners will be more than encouraged, to do so. And then maybe also we can work with the local governments who are so much committed to this green initiative. If the hotel have been renovated to be more sustainable, can we get some support and subsidies from the government to do so? So with that, the owners is more than willing to take a concrete action from the next day. So that's something we believe that these are the challenges, but these are not something that cannot be addressed. So as we are moving further towards a track of sustainability, we are trying to be creative, and then to find all the solutions that can be a win-win for every stakeholders, every participant in this great mission. So with that, I just want to share with our very humble practice and some thoughts about sustainability. But again, it's a long way to go, and I'm more than happy to have this as opportunity, and I hope we will have more to share with our lessons and also experience down the road in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Suwai. You have been very clear, and your message is full of hope, and it is very important today to have hope in front of us. Of course, your profession tells you that it's important to build bridges between the people, and you do that with great enthusiasm. Thank you very much. And now I have the pleasure to introduce Mrs. Joanne McEntee, who is former Undersecretary of the US Department of Commerce. And the role of Mrs. McEntee is extremely important because she knows, of course, the United States very well, and she knows China very well. And it's important in this struggle that we have in front of us to insist on the common role of the United States and of China to reach this net zero we do want to reach as soon as possible. Mrs. Joanne McEntee, the floor is yours.
Few people think of fashion as being an industry with major international diplomatic significance. Yet fashion helped in bringing a rapprochement between France and the US by focusing on Jackie Kennedy's fashion style when visiting Paris, or the interest in Africa's childhood AIDS problems assisted by Princess Diana's media fashion attention, or how the streets of New York City were lined up for miles as Western visitors sought entry to the Metropolitan Museum of Art to appreciate Asian culture because of the fantastic display of gorgeous antique gowns of Chinese women. Each of these and many more are examples of the international influence of what the fashion industry brings. And yet there are other fashion consequences as well. For example, with every piece of clothing added to a cart or purchased at a mall, the fashion industry makes tens of thousands of items a day to meet consumer demands. Each year, 100 billion items of clothing are produced. That means at least 14 clothing products are created for every single person on the planet. Society's demand for clothing has reached an all-time high. This extremity comes at a cost. The fashion industry currently produces 10% of annual global carbon emissions. At this rate, the fashion industry's carbon footprint will reach plus 50% by 2030. The fashion industry is undeniably a major contributor to climate change. According to research, the textile industry emits more greenhouse gases each year than international flights and maritime shipping combined. Most of this is due to the production of fabric and then the transportation of garments. Cotton, one of the most popular fabrics, uses petrochemical-based pesticides coming from petroleum, a major fossil fuel. Around 60% of synthetic fibers that make up our clothes use fossil fuels. Aside from emitting CO2 during production, many fashion firms incinerate their clothing products that do not sell for high prices. This allows the brand to maintain its exclusivity. However, burning clothes produces large emissions and pollutants that are not only harmful to the environment but human health. Air pollutants are often responsible for worsening asthma symptoms. Moreover, synthetic fibers are commonly used to create these clothing pieces, and they are unable to naturally break down in the environment. Upon being burned, the synthetic fibers release microfibers into the atmosphere, which further harm the environment. In other cases, clothes are disposed in order to make space for the newer, more trendy items. In North America alone, 10.5 million tons of clothing will be put into landfills this year. This waste not only amounts to more greenhouse emissions, but a hefty loss in value. According to research, the World Bank, every year $500 billion is lost due to clothing that is barely worn, not donated, not recycled, or not in landfills in the United States. In recent years, the industry has slowly begun to realize and recognize its role in investing more substantial solutions that could aid in reducing greenhouse emissions. In turn, the general consumer has become more aware of fashion's impact on the environment. From trends promoting sustainable shopping habits to celebrities endorsing eco-friendly brands, our society has become more aware of our individual carbon footprint and how our fashion consumption impacts them. This has influenced how and where people spend their money, further prompting fashion brands to switch to more eco-friendly solutions in order to keep consumers interested. However, in order to continue working towards lower CO2 emissions, the industry must continue to look for innovative solutions. Yet there are numerous challenges that the fashion industry faces as it seeks to become more environmentally responsible, yet financially sound. Eco-fashion is a movement committed to minimizing carbon emissions, promoting the health and safety of all species, and protecting the planet from climate change. The aim for eco-fashion is to change the world of style and with products that are ethically made, certified, organic, recycled, biodegradable, fair trade, and low impact. Eco-fashion has been evolving for over 60 years, though perhaps known by other names, and is today recognized as a critical global initiative. Countries such as Italy, France, Germany, and the US, as well as China, India, and Bangladesh, all vie to be recognized as the premier eco-fashion leader, and eco-conferences, industry pledges, and company commitments to net zero plans abound. Indeed, there has been a growing hope of the industry's continuing progress and commitment to eco-fashion programs. In 2019, some of the largest fashion brands in the world put their names on science-based climate targets, saying they would reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by 30% in 2030 in order to stay in line with the UN-endorsed pathway to keeping the climate from increased warming. Fashion is a way of artistic and social expression. The fashion industry is creative, disruptive, inspiring, and influential. We all admire and love that. However, that's the artistic appreciation side. The trends, their textures, colors, shapes, and fabrics. Fashion production is different. Making fashion is mainly mass, fast, and cheap. Most of the world's consumers feed that motto with their demands. The amount of waste generated is more than worrying. We do not need to get rid of trends or good materials or luxury products. We just need to change how we demand them and how they are being produced. In other words, we need to rethink consumerism and production practices within the fashion industry and make the industry circular. One can say we're actually in an eco-renaissance. We are in a place where consumers and brands are striving to be better together. Post-pandemic environmentalism is growing and brand behaviors are shifting. The future of eco-fashion is looking at major challenges, but significant steps forward are being made. It's a long journey for sure, but there's no plan B, so we have to start now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. McGinty. Indeed, it's a long journey, but it's very important, of course, to insist on the role of the industry and also the fashion industry and the importance of the culture in this struggle engaged by the fashion industry to reach the net zero we do want to reach. Now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Pavlos Kondomikalos, founder of CEO of Hellas Group. Είναι μεγάλη χαρά για μένα να δώσω το λόγο σε ένα φίλο από την Ελλάδα. Σας παρακαλώ πολύ, κύριε Kondomikalos.
Then, Professor, we will have problems to translate that. Because we have only English, Chinese, English. Next time we will prepare Greek, Chinese.
It's a great pleasure for me to give the floor to a friend of Greece. Greece, with its old culture, is absolutely on first place to conduce the battle for the net zero. So, Mr. Kondomikalos, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Louis Godard. It's a great pleasure and honor to be with you again. And I have to say, you are a true culture titan and someone I admire. So thank you for being with us again. And I would also like to say hello to everyone all over the different parts of the world. And I want to first compliment and applaud Mr. Professor David Gosset for really a visionary initiative and something that he has invested his personal energy, passion, and leadership to bring people together for a cause that there couldn't be anything in my mind more important. So thank you, Professor Gosset, for doing this. My name is Pavlos Kondomikalos. I will translate what Mr. Professor Godard said another time, but it's, I'm originally from Greece, and I've lived in the three places that this conference is relevant. So I grew up in Athens, Greece, then lived in United States, and now in Asia. So maybe I'm following the history or the trend or the growth or the money, whatever you want to say. But I'm here for many years. I was president of a pharmaceutical company, Bristol Myers Squibb in China. 20 years ago, I decided to become an entrepreneur and focus my energy on creating businesses, either founding, co-founding, or investing in businesses that I think have a real purpose and something that it matters to me. So over the years, I have been involved with 22 different companies, and they all have one thing in common. That is what I call life value, helping improve the value of our life, making us happier, making us healthier. And you can see maybe here on my, right here, the logo, which is double-H, which means health and happiness through the values of Hippocrates, which was the father of medicine. And what was most important for him was nature. Everything starts, and you should follow nature. And this is something I try to follow in what I do. And you know, what I do, or I always ask a question, what can I do, or how can I inspire others to help improve our planet? Because that is the heritage we leave to our next generations. So the first thing I try to do is always pick the areas that I think are the right areas to be involved. And second, I have over the years developed, I guess, my 5 own guiding principles, which are quite simple and practical. And they all have to do with the 2 most important things, by the way, in my opinion, are not the things we spend most of our time on. We spend most of our time on short term, least important in the long term. Example, trade wars. In 10, 20, 30 years, will it matter what happened today, the trade wars? Much less. But what we do with the environment and what we do with the mind of future generations through education will have lasting effect. So let me get to the 5 principles for me, and that is for brands and for places, venues, because my business is around brands, hospitality, food, beverage, natural cosmetics, and you can see some behind me, all from nature. So the first principle is follow nature. Nature gives us the most valuable raw materials. They have passed the test of time. They are biodegradable. Nature has amazing processes that if we follow, we can really learn from. And one example is a Greek olive oil brand that is called Eleon. You can see maybe behind me. This, without boring you, from the way we collect the olives to the way they are processed, no chemicals, no heat, nothing, very natural, no preservatives. That helps the environment and gives us a great product as well. Second principle is always build to last, not to be changed. In many places, including China, a lot of things are built to be changed. We see them one day and then they change and then they change. So my principle is if you can preserve, so for example, Elas House, which many of you know is right here, which is a culture, hospitality and business center right in the heart of Shanghai. It's a 100-year-old villa. I kept as much of the old pillar, the wood and the bricks and so on, and then brought in materials that will last forever, solid marble and so on, and created a magic. Of course, it took 5 years, but it's something that will outlast not only me, but many future generations. The third is recycle everything. And again, our brand C.E.A, our natural cosmetic brand that you see up here behind me, we start from the soil lab, extraction, molecular formulation, design, recycle, and then goes back. So we have incentives how to do that. We encourage consumers to bring back, and it's fascinating when we have in New York City, in Soho, our place where we actually recycle. So consumers bring in the old package, we recycle it, and we make it into combs, into things that are useful. So this is fascinating and people love it. The fourth is, this is very important for me, under decorate, which always creates over wow. You know, designers often think that over decoration is good. No, under decoration lets the natural beauty come through. And this is something that to me is very, very important. And again, we practice this in Santorini, our estate, and also Elas House, under decorate and over wow. And number 5, to me, very important, is make your design timeless. For example, you can have designs that are fads and change, but some designs never age. It's the difference between classic vintage and aged, right? We go into some hotels, we say this is really aged. But if it's a classic, it never ages. In fact, it gets better with time, right? So that's another important, for me, element. So these are my 5 personal ones. Follow nature, always build to last, recycle everything, under decorate, over wow, and make design timeless. I follow them. So I urge everyone to develop your own. You don't need to be huge business. Everything though you do has to focus on those areas, because we can control some things, we can make an impact. And even if the impact we think is small, please do it. It's the right thing to do. And trust me, our children, our grandchildren will not only be proud of us, but will be grateful. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Kondomikalos. It is extremely important what you underlined. Life with the value of the nature. Let me remember that the first big divinity of ancient Greek was Mother Earth. And it's really in the name of Mother Earth, this old divinity from the Neolithic period and from the Bronze Age, that we must go ahead with the struggle for the net zero. Extremely important, of course, what you said, follow nature, under decorate, and of course, do that all together. Nobody can save alone. We are all together involved in the same struggle for the preservation of this. So thank you very much. And now I have the pleasure and the honor to give the floor to Mrs. Margaret Khan, co-founder of Candle and Fragrance, Miss Hong Kong 2000. Please, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Margaret Ken, co-founder of 6 p.m. Candle and Fragrances. I myself love fragrance, and I believe that through fragrance and candles, we can inspire people to create moments that they love and live a more fulfilling and authentic life. And to experience a fulfilling life, I don't think we need to own more or necessarily buy more. And that's why we don't strive on customers' insecurity, saying that they're not good enough and they need to buy from us. I think sustainability is a journey, is not a destination. We're always working on that. So on this journey, I think we as a whole, inevitably, we need to reduce production to a more sustainable level. That's not something that we're used to. And I know we all used to buy a lot of things and buy new things and things like that. Some say that sustainability is only for big companies, but I would encourage fellow entrepreneur like you and me, whoever is listening out there, think again. I think the beauty of being a small brand is that we're more agile and we have more flexibility. We're closer to the market. We can actually experiment and do different things in our own way, explore different ways to make a difference. So local entrepreneur, in another thing, the other thing about local entrepreneur is that we are the backbone of this economy. By going local, we, let's say, source locally as much as possible, produce, sell locally, we can all together help reduce the carbon footprints of our businesses. So that's what we've been trying to do at 6 p.m. as well, by using fewer ingredients, by sourcing from companies that are also socially and environmentally sustainable and responsible, by also designing a product with less packaging, by also producing and selling in smaller batches so that we don't overproduce. That's very important. Not overproduce. Don't create a lot of waste. And we also encourage people, encourage our customer to upcycle, reuse, instead of just dumping it into the junk and let's say assuming that it will be recycled. We educate and encourage our customer to reuse and upcycle our packaging or the bottle and containers. We're trying to do a lot of things, but again, we're still very, very far from what we would like to achieve in terms of having a zero net environmental gain. So that's a long way to go, but I believe by working together, thinking out of the box, hopefully coming up with different ways, test and try, will make a difference. And I always believe that we have to be curious. We have to stay curious. We're usually curious when we're young, but when we get older, we might not be as curious. But to keep that curiosity alive. And that was the reason why I participated in Miss Hong Kong back in 2000. And that's also the reason why I started 6 p.m. Candle and Fragrance around 6 years ago. I believe everyone is an explorer and a creator. So I hope after today's talk, we all get inspired, we rethink and we explore different ways in our own way, make a difference and work together towards a more sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Khan. Indeed, it's a long way, but we understand that with your enthusiasm and with the enthusiasm of young people, it is possible, of course, to reach this objective. And now I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Jan Klein. We move in the field of gastronomy, and each of us knows how gastronomy is important to construct bridges between the people. So it's a pleasure and an honor for me to give the floor to Mr. Jan Klein.
Hello, Mr. Godard. Thank you very much. It's a big pleasure to being part of all of you. So my name is Jan Klein. I'm the executive chef of Maison Lamelloise Shanghai, who is owned by Eric Prat, who is based in Shanghai, in France, sorry, more specifically in Burgundy, with 3 Michelin stars. So first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Gosset to share this opportunity to be part of this conference. So now concerning the dynamics and challenges of the eco-fashion movement, I will speak from the point of view, of course, of the F&B scene. So there's something that bothers me in this. It's the word fashion, trend. Ecology should not be a trend, but more a mindset or a code of conduct. This eco-fashion movement has arrived for me because I think many people realize that we need to do something so we can live in a better world. If us restaurateurs were not part of the first people to do something, then the situation won't get better. Nowadays, people want to have better and healthier lifestyle because of the easy access to information regarding the environmental education, but unfortunately, this has become more marketing strategy for most of industries. What is encouraging, I would say, about the movement is that more and more chefs start to grow their own garden, use only seasonal fish, work with farmers who have a sustainable mindset. Thanks to our local producer, we are able to get in better ingredients in our plates. From our side, in January 2020, when COVID hit China and we had to close our restaurant in Shanghai, with the chef Eric Prat, we took a step back to analyze the situation. And we realized that there were no more sense in what we were doing. At that time, we were importing 70% of our ingredients from Europe. We used the same suppliers as our restaurant in France. So we decided to focus much more on China. It took us a few months to be able to serve a menu with a majority of local ingredients, but we did it. And today we are proud to say that our menu contains 70 to 75% of local ingredients cooked with French technique and a touch of Burgundy. But we didn't stop our efforts to only sourcing. We push a lot on minimizing the wastage by finding solutions for the trimmings and the peelings. We're also working on reducing our plastic consumption by 50% by next year. But today, to be able to work in a sustainable, eco way, we faced many challenges, like the cost, first of all. Local organic ingredients are more expensive than imported because of the price of the transportation, also because of the small volume of production and the small amount of restaurants buying it. Then we have the suppliers who continue to import average quality goods from the other side of the planet just because they are doing nice deals and it bring them business. Funny fact is when we decided to to make a turn on local ingredients, some suppliers came to see us and didn't understand why we were doing this and didn't understood the position we were taking just because their revenue was going to reduce. And for me, the biggest challenge is the packaging. Asking our suppliers to stop using single-use plastic, polystyrene boxes, and replacing them by reusable box, recycled paper, and so on is for me an everyday challenge. But we keep confidence on one day we'll succeed. To conclude, what I would say is to conclude the subject, dynamics and challenges of eco-fashion movement, I think this movement is a healthy thing, and we should encourage more and more people to take this initiative. This is my humble opinion, and I try to speak on behalf of my team and share our new direction for the near and far future with all of you. And I hope I explained it well and as simple as possible. It was a pleasure and honor to be part of this talk with all of you. Thank you again, Mr. Gosset, for the chance to share our thoughts on the subject. And I wish you all a lovely afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jan Klein. You are in the position to be able to dialogue between two great gastronomic traditions, the French tradition and the Chinese tradition. And you explained very well how to proceed to help in the field of gastronomy to obtain this net zero we do want to obtain. Now, I have the pleasure to give the floor to Sen Tzu, Secretary General of Rhinewood Culture Foundation. Please, Mr. Sen Tzu, the floor is yours.
尊敬的主持人，各位嘉宾，下午好，我是华彬文化基金会的沈珠，很高兴和大家相聚在中欧美净零行动的论坛，共同探讨交流今天的话题。地球是人类共同的家园，积极应对气候变化已经在全球范围内达成了高度的共识。以绿色健康经济引领时尚，不断降低碳排放，是人类实现可持续发展的必然选择。在实现碳达峰、碳中和目标愿景的过程中，我们华彬集团和华彬文化基金会一直在进行着绿色发展的产业实践。借此机会，我想就我们的实践与各位嘉宾进行简单的分享。华彬健康引领时尚这个口号是我们集团绿色健康产业的初心，也是我们旗下各产业板块的行动纲领。27年前，我们在北京华彬生态园是一片荒滩和沙坑，经过持续不断的沙坑改造和苗木种植，昔日的荒地已经变成了环境优美的绿洲。来自世界各地的国际友人在这里种下了象征着绿色、希望与和平的友谊林。如今，华彬生态园的绿化率已经达到了99%，成为了北京市防沙治沙的先进单位，首都绿化美化花园式单位，也被联合国列入了全球生态文明建设金鼎案例工程。同时，我们最近还在利用光伏发电技术，打造了环境友好的科普教育温室，孩子们可以直接感受世界各个气候区的130多种植物，触摸大自然。我们还陆续引进了高尔夫、马术、足球、冰雪、飞盘等青少年健康的时尚户外运动，园区聚集了极高的人气。我们每年进园的人流量能够超过10万人次，已经成为了北京京北地区的休闲运动的热门打卡地。绿色的自然环境为文化经济的发展创造了无限的可能性。华彬生态园是我们集团绿色健康发展理念和产业实践的一个缩影。除此之外，华彬集团的董事长严彬先生相继赴大兴安岭、太湖、洱海、金桂湖等地考察调研，为中国的生态文明建设建言献策，并通过生态治理的实践和成果，结合健康的时尚运动，打造高品质的生活园区。时尚运动为这些园区的发展注入了新的活力。除此之外， 华彬集团在云南大理、海东地区，我们也有生态文旅产业项目。经过连续13年的治理，千年的荒山焕发出了绿色的新颜。同时，我们也结合大理地区的地形地貌特点，建设了科普、探险、运动健康为一体的青少年园区，并开发了房车营地等新业态，修建了10公里以上的盘山游步道。我们站在海东，可以全景的观览苍山洱海，为休闲、游览、跑步、骑行创造了优质的环境和景观。除此之外，我们在湖北的咸宁金桂湖也有项目，经过10多年的湿地治理，生态环境也得到了有效的改善。金桂湖成为了湖北省首批地碳示范区的项目之一。未来这里也将成为极具水上时尚运动特色的青少年的健康生活基地。华彬集团我们在中国国内多个绿色健康项目的成功经验，我们也将遵循国家“一带一路”的倡议，将这些实践呢延伸到泰国、新加坡、迪拜、伦敦等地，积极推广绿色健康理念，特别是对一老一小重点群体进行深入的产品开发。我们在泰国的东盟健康产业园项目总投资近10亿美元，包含了国际学校、体育运动、养老社区等业态，还建立了含全球建筑文化特色的东西方文化交流中心，其中也包括了现在在北京颐和园的仁寿殿，我们把它复制建设到了这个东西方文化交流中心。近期我们华彬在英国的3一广场和温特沃斯球会也举行了盛大的100年庆典，我们将东方的绿色健康理念融入到西方的100年经典文化传承，实现了兼容并蓄的产业创新。华彬绿色健康产业体系，我们也在中国政府的“一带一路”的框架下，传播推广中国绿色发展的成功经验和东方健康理念，同时将不断的学习和引进世界各国领先的健康科技，融合发展，并通过绿色金融实现产业发展的支持和加速。我们也期待与各位朋友进行广泛的合作，共同为应对全球气候的变化、人与自然和谐共生做出我们的应有贡献。谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Mrs. Senzu.
谢谢。
I used several times this morning the word hope, because from all the speech we had the pleasure to hear, we can find the word hope. And also in the splendid speech of Mrs. Senzu, with this attention to the heritage protection, to the youth education and training, and to the cultural exchanges between the people, we find motives of hope. Thank you very much again. And so now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Philip Westerlund. Please, Mr. Westerlund.
Thank you so much. Give me 1 second and I'll quickly share my screen. Can you all see it? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, very good.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for inviting me here today. It's a pleasure and it's an honor. Thank you also to all the previous speakers. I feel inspired this morning. My name is Philippe. I'm a fashion entrepreneur. I'm a psychologist by training, and I'm a circular economy activist based in Luxembourg in Europe. And I want to make this a personal storytelling. So I want to show you all the problem that I faced, and the problem was eco fashion. So this is a pair of eco sneakers. But as you can see, these are broken, and my sneakers used to break after only a few months. So I started doing my research, and I found some pretty nasty numbers about the fashion industry. So 63% of raw materials in the fashion industry is plastic based, and the transparency index, so that is how much we can actually find out about our fashion products, is only 63%. So there are many things we don't know about the fashion industry, and that is, of course, a very big problem. So the average lifetime of a pair of plastic-based sneakers is 3 to 12 months. And that is also the business model of the traditional fashion brand. It is for us to buy more and at a cheaper price. So I found no choice for sustainable fashion myself, so I had to create my own. And this is what helped me out. So what you can see on the screen is the circular value hill as published by Circle Economy in 2016. So it's basically a how-to guide. So how can you build a sustainable business model? So when I built my sneakers and when I created the design, I used this. So we work with pure raw materials, so plastic-free materials. We focus on the use period. So being a psychologist by training, I'm very interested in behavior. So how do we interact with products, and what can we do during the lifetime of the products to also keep the product in use? So our sneakers will last you for 7 years instead of the average 3 to 12 months. If or when our sneakers break, well, we can repair them for you. And if we can't repair the sneakers, we will recycle every single material separately. So there's a plan for the sneakers to bounce back into use time after time after time. So what is our sneakers made of? Well, we have natural rubber for the soles from the rubber tree. We have Italian capped leather sourced as a byproduct from the food industry. We have eco cotton for laces, and we have coconut fiber for insoles. I am very proud to also share our customer reviews. So I think eco fashion has to be about pleasure, it has to be about fun, and it has to be super comfortable. So I'm proud to share that we have a 98% customer satisfaction as well. My journey so far it's been a great ride. I've been featured in about 50 news articles in the last 12 months. And for example, I've been awarded by the Ministry of Economy in Luxembourg. I've also been mentioned as a circular pioneer and the most influential circular economy entrepreneur in the Benelux countries. I am very proud of all the traction and all the mentions, but my greatest pride is to see our sneakers walking across the globe. So not only in Europe, but also in the US and of course also Asia. We are currently developing our product range. So I'm also happy to present to you some circular card holders. Now these card holders are made from upcycled fish skin. So skin from the fishing industry. Now these skins used to be discarded, and now instead we can upcycle them and create this super durable card holder that will be with you for many years to come. Obviously, these are also plastic free, and they're also repairable if they break, and recyclable if we cannot repair them anymore. So to sum up and conclude, media's been calling me a young social impact hero. I'm humbled, I'm honored. But if there's one thing that I know by now, it is that we can change the fashion industry, but we have to do it together. We can't go from linear to circular, but we have to team up. So that's also why I'm here today, to build some more bridges. We have great bridges, but I think we need to walk a lot more across countries and also collaborate more, of course. So I'm here to expand my network. I'm here to grow and scale my business in the best possible way. So if you're interested in the products, I invite you to scan the QR code, add me onto LinkedIn, drop me a message. Let's hop on a call and see how we can do more circular things in this world. thanks so much for listening. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Westerlund, for your very impressive speech. You indicate a road we need to travel to obtain this famous impact zero without plastic. And thank you so much indeed for having indicated this road we need to follow. Thank you.
Professor, you are still with us, Professor?
Yes?
Yes. Would you like to conclude, Professor?
I was speaking, yes, so it was a great honor for me to have the responsibility of this session. And first of all, I would like again to express my deep gratitude to Professor Gosset for organizing these meetings. Extremely helpful because we need more than ever to understand that it's a problem of surviving of mankind. And the net zero transition platform is one step to try to obtain this result. Thank you very much, Mr. Professor Gosset, and thank you very much to all the speakers. I had the honor to present and to comment in this first session of 9th of November. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. And once again, as Madame Chouwei said, we really hope everyone is safe in Italy, this terrible earthquake that happened. We are clearly with you, very close to you, Professor. Thank you for chairing this session. The diversity was amazing. The diversity was amazing. We had North America present with Joanne McEntee, clearly, but also Margaret Kahn, because she's in Canada. Of course, China. Thank you very much, Madame Sun Zhu and Madame Chouwei for the strong support. And of course, we had Europe with Bernardo Cabot, Pavlos Kontamikalos. Your 5 points are so powerful, I have to say, very, very powerful. I think we have been inspired very much by your 5 points. Gastronomy, this is absolutely key. And as you said, Professor Godard, gastronomy, it is also friendship. So this is so important to have Chef Yann Klein with us and Philippe Westerlund to finish. What you are doing is absolutely key. And again, we have been discussing the notion of circular economy yesterday and today. And I am sure that you are being very successful. I think I need a pair of your sneakers, especially if it lasts 7 years. I need that very much. And it's a perfect transition because we wanted to finish this second dialogue in the framework of China, Europe, America Net Zero Transition Platform with a moment for youth or about youth. I had planned for an outstanding educator to chair this last session, Professor William Wang, Associate Dean of EM Lyon Business School. But what is happening? Look, in life, we always have to expect the unexpected. But we have another surprise. There is a problem with the plane of Professor William Wang. He was on his way to Paris, from China to Paris. He should have been with us, but apparently he's somewhere either on the plane or maybe at Charles de Gaulle Airport. You know that sometimes it takes time when you want to get out of this airport, or maybe in the traffic jams, Parisian traffic jams, early morning. So I will chair this session, and maybe Professor William Wang join us. But it's a great pleasure for me because youth is absolutely key in order for us to reach net zero economy. Youth, it means young people, and we will give the floor to some young people, but it means also educators. And it is a great pleasure for me to give the floor first to the Vice President of Huacha University in Xiamen, the beautiful city of Xiamen. And you know that I am in Shanghai at the moment, but for those who have not been in Xiamen yet, I invite you to go to Xiamen and to enjoy a city which aims to become a sustainable city also, a smart city. So it's a great pleasure, Professor Wang, to have you with us. And please, the floor is yours, Professor.
Okay, thank you, Professor Gosset. Thank you for your invitation. And it's my great pleasure to join this platform to present you a speech on the role of youth in achieving the sustainable development of goals and climate action. Yes, Xiamen is a very beautiful city. And at the beginning of my words, I welcome you. Someday you can come to Xiamen to enjoy the beautiful climate. You know, now it's not cold here and even hot in the noon, you know, and also the ocean here around. Okay, let me begin. I will talk something about the things that students in Huacha University that they did for the sustainable development. And in September 2020, and China formally proposed a double carbon target, a move that demonstrates to the world that China is taking great responsibility in the global development transition process. And the Chinese economy continues to show great resilience and potential in the dual context of sustainable development and the COVID-19 pandemic. We believe that China is a hope-filled existence now and in the future, and that hope is in the youth of China. The future is shaped by the backbone of society, but it is the young who will drive it forward and make it a reality. And young people are the ultimate implementers of the Sustainable Development Goals and the ultimate practitioners of climate actions. For the young, the only thing they know is to live. The only thing they know is to fly. And it is their destiny to make the world and create and conquer history. Young people have broad minds. The vision of the contemporary youth is global, all-embracing, transcending the limits of time, country, and humanity's own responsibilities. A young man with a global outlook and mind will inevitably become a champion and advocate for sustainable development and climate action. In China, the concept of sustainable development has taken root, and student organizations related to environmental protection and green development have been established in almost all universities, thereby popularizing the concept among the country's youth, population. The Huaqiao University Environmental Protection Association was established in April 2000. In the early 21st century, our young students have been concerned about environmental protection and green development, and have been cooperating with government agencies at all levels outside our university campus, and also NGOs in a comprehensive manner. After more than 2 decades of development, the Huaqiao University Environmental Protection Association has become a star association and was selected as one of the top 10 associations in Fujian province in China, in East China in 2016. This is just one of millions of societies in China. The seeds of green faith are being sown in universities to achieve a green future. Young people have the courage and commitment to do what is right for the world. The world is currently in the midst of greatest change of the century, and the natural and social sciences which are relevant to sustainable development urgently need the participation of young people who can use their free spirit and strange ideas and keen intuition to see the innovations in science and technology, to see the change in society and lead the future changing in the world. And more young people are now participating in this global transformation, taking on the challenges of climate action and dual carbon studies as explorers and participants in all fields and dimensions. A large number of low carbon entrepreneurs, low carbon scientists, and low carbon theoretical researchers have emerged. In the future, climate action will have a profound impact on the way humans produce and live. The first signs of such an impact are already visible. New ways of life and production are giving rise to new models and ideas, as well as the drive of a younger generation to take up the cause. At Huaqiao University, we have established the Advanced Carbon Conversion Technology Institute to provide a platform and financial support for young scientists to break through key carbon conversion technologies and contribute to the country's carbon neutrality goal. We believe that in the future, technology belongs to the youth. Young people have the spirit to innovate, and thanks to advances in climate science, increased education, and social media, young people today have a deeper understanding of the causes and consequences of climate change, providing fertile ground for the emergence of youth climate action. And these range from concrete work on land restoration and desert control, to saving endangered species, to social outreach efforts such as launching climate challenges and promoting discussion topics. The emergence of young people has considerably enriched the medium of expression and communication for sustainable development and climate action, allowing concepts of sustainable development and demands for climate action to be combined with modern modes of behavior. Youth participants will lead to a more open and inclusive approach to finding innovative solutions to the global challenge of carbon neutrality. There is a reason to believe that the destiny of humanity will be written by the young. Okay, that's my presentation. And thank you, Professor Gosset, and thank all the listeners.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, dear professor, dear colleague. I want also to add that by nature, because Huaqiao University is overseas Chinese university, your outstanding university is at its core very international. And at the China, Europe, America Net Zero Transition Platform, we believe in the necessity to have international cooperation. It implies an international mindset. It is why the work you are doing is extremely important. We are very happy and honored to have this afternoon with us several outstanding Chinese universities. We were in Xiamen with Professor Wang Tianhua, and now we are going to go to the north of China, in the beautiful city of Tianjin, to listen to a young scientist, Professor Wang. You have this outstanding program in your university for young scientists. Well, Professor Liu Qingshan, Professor and Vice Director of the Institute of Photoelectronic Thin Film Devices and Technology at Nankai University, is the perfect example of Chinese young leadership in the field of science and technology. Professor Luo Qingshan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Gosset, for your invitation and introduction. It is my great honor and pleasure to participate in this event. But today I was told that the speech can be both in English or Chinese. So I prepared in Chinese. I will give in Chinese.
我爱南开，我也非常爱中国。
Thank you very much. 过去10年，中国践行绿水青山就是金山银山发展理念，大力推动生态文明建设，生态环境有了很大的改善。在此基础上，中国又提出了2030碳达峰、2060碳中和的发展目标，充分展现了中国坚持绿色可持续发展和应对气候变化的责任担当与坚定决心。实现碳中和的本质是实现绿色可持续发展。距离2060年还有近40年的时间，青年是塑造零碳未来的中坚力量，是绿色发展的见证人和受益者。青年应积极参与到可持续发展和气候治理行动中。基于我的个人经历，我认为青年可以从以下几个方面采取行动：一、了解气候变化带来的影响。全球变暖如果继续下去，将会产生毁灭性的后果。冰川融化和海平面上升将影响生活在沿海地区人们的生存，冰川海洋以及陆地沿海的生物多样性也将受到威胁。气候变化也会扰乱天气模式，导致极端天气事件，加剧水资源短缺和供水污染，这将进一步影响生活用水和粮食安全。青年人可以多学习了解气候变化相关的知识，多关注相关的新闻和政策，这将使我们更加清楚地了解人类活动对全球气候的影响，从而形成节能减排的个人意识。二、改变我们的生活方式。我们的生活方式对地球有着深远的影响，全球约2/3的温室气体排放与我们的生活相关。目前世界上绝大多数的电力 和供暖仍然由煤炭、石油、天然气提供，超过80%的二氧化碳排放来自这些化石燃料的使用。节能减排，人人有责。我们应该养成绿色低碳的生活方式，倡导绿色生活，可以选择带有绿色节能标识的家用电器，并养成随手关灯、节约用水的好习惯，践行光盘行动，提倡低碳餐饮，注意垃圾分类，回收纸、塑料和金属制品等，倡导绿色出行，减少我们的碳足迹，减少燃油车的使用，尽量使用共享单车，使用公共交通工具，如新能源汽车等。3、影响我们周围的人。除了我们自己践行绿色可持续发展理念以外，我们还可以广泛宣传，影响我们周围的人，传输绿色可持续发展正能量，成为绿色发展倡导者。我们可以参与或组织与家庭、学校、工作和社会相关的活动，通过我们的实际行动，说服人们改变生活方式。在信息时代，社交媒体是重要的信息来源。如果我们在微信、推特或者其他互联网平台看到有关气候变化的帖子、绿色生活的帖子，我们可以分享它，不仅仅是点赞，以便让更多的人可以看到。4、投身碳中和技术研发。为了应对气候变化，我们应该以绿色和可持续的方式，用科学技术来满足我们日益增长的生活水平，这需要大量的科学家和工程师。我们作为青年人，可以投身可再生能源和环境科学研究，如太阳能发电、二氧化碳还原、污染物降解等，通过科学研究和技术开发，实现绿色可持续发展。例如，我的研究小组目前从事人工光合作用研究，通过模拟自然光合作用，我们正在开发通过太阳能或者是可再生能源电力来把水和二氧化碳转化为燃料和化学品的技术，来替代化石燃料，满足我们人类对燃料和化学品的需求。最后，我想强调，气候变化不分国界，这是人类面临的共同挑战。应对气候变化带来的全球性挑战迫在眉睫，共同努力应对气候危机，建设可持续发展的未来，不仅仅是青年的责任，也是地球上每个公民的责任。我们应该树立人类命运共同体意识，为实现可持续发展目标贡献力量。谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Professor Luo Qingshan, for your very wise speech and the contribution you have in the shaping of the mindset of your students, because it has been said several times, especially yesterday, the journey towards the net zero economy, it's about technicalities, but it's also about the mindset, and many forces have a role to play, philanthropies, many forces, but I think that educators have a very important role to play. And thank you also very much for your scientific contribution to the development of the renewable energy sector, because your research is closely connected with renewable energy. So thank you very much. And Professor, please stay with us, because we were in Xiamen. We have been to the beautiful city of Tianjin at Nankai University. Now we come back to Shanghai to another outstanding university, Tongji University, very famous for the work done in architecture. And in the previous session, Mr. Pavlos Kontamikalos spoke two of his 5 principles were connected with design and architecture. He said that one needs to under-decorate and to have a timeless design Well, I am very happy now to give the floor to Professor Tao Seming from Tongji University, in the college, professor at the College of Design and Innovation. Thank you very much, Madam, to be with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Gosset. And it's my great honor to participate in the China-Europe-American Net Zero Transition Platform. Thank you very much. It's my great honor. And I will share my screen. And could you see my screen?
Yes, very good. Thank you. We can see it very clearly.
Okay. And I will present my slides also in Chinese. So
没有问题，没有问题，非常好，谢谢您。
大家好，我叫陶思明，我是同济大学设计创意学院的助理教授和外事秘书。我这次演讲的主题是设计师要如何去应对周围的变化，以此来达到可持续的目标，为我们所生存的环境去提供一份自己的力量。做设计之前，我们首先要问自己的一个问题是：通过设计，我们能够改变什么？这是一个设计愿景的问题，包括你想做什么，想为谁做什么，想达到一个什么样的目标。我从2个设计议题，韧性设计还有气候设计，来介绍环境设计中的可持续思考。其中的一个议题来源于我们学院环境设计团队开设的设计课程，有关于城市社区食物系统中的可持续设计。另一个议题是我自己的一个研究方向，乡村建筑中气候适应的生态建造系统。目前我的这个研究方向也获得了中国国家自然科学基金项目的资助。这2个议题，一个关注在城市，一个关注在乡村，但是他们2个有同一个共同点，也就是关注系统这件事情。首先我介绍一下社区食物系统这个设计议题。这个课程的背景是在上海市的赤峰路，这条小马路上有不少的餐饮店，临近于我们学院，服务对整个学校的师生服务，人流量通常比较大，但是由此带来的效率问题还有浪费问题，我们是否能够为此做一些什么？换句话说，由食物串联起来的生活空间生态系统，是不是能够通过设计的介入来产生改变？我们知道联合国有17个可持续发展目标，我们的学生为了食物可持续这个问题上，选择了消除饥饿、循环生产消费这2个很大的愿景，以此去展开设计。那么我来介绍一些设计成果。这一组的这个学生作业叫做Ugly Fruits Market， 就中文叫做丑小果。他们关注了一个很有意思的点，就是我们知道市面上长得很奇形怪状的水果，通常由于卖相太差而滞销，最终导致了一个浪费。那么呢，他们就反向操作，专门去设计了一个丑蔬果的作坊。去设计这个作坊的系统流程，包括供货端的生产运输和质量检测，面向用户的小展览、小集市、厨房等等，从各个层面去改变一般人对丑的蔬果的认识，并且去接受它们。这一组的这个学生的设计有一个很有趣的中文上的谐音梗，中文叫做零食。这个后面的这个零食的意思是将要过期的食物。他们观察到这条路上的年轻消费者经常购买了过多的食品，导致囤积后的浪费，因此设计了一个由主要空间还有移动小车为单元的零期食物的工作坊模块，能够定期的开展一些展览和品鉴活动，去教给年轻人如何去用不同的方法去处理多余的食物，以此促进一个可持续的消费。那么以上的2个作业，他们都在这个学校附近的这个社区里 展开了线下的这个实验，那么就是从纸上的设计已经带到了这个线下的真实场景中的应用。除了实体大空间的系统的可持续设计呢，也可以在更微小的系统中达到一个可持续的目标。比如说，这组的学生做了一个桌游系统的设计，去面向低年级的课外教育，用一个游戏的方式去向小朋友们传达食物可持续的来龙去脉。那么接下来谈一下我自己的这个研究方向，也就是受到我们国家这个自然科学基金资助的一个方向。那么我们知道，乡村振兴是现在中国的一个非常重要的政策，也是未来重要的工作方向。一个重点是强调了需要建设生态宜居的美丽乡村。那么作为乡村的建筑来说，和城市的建筑最大的不同点在于，它所承载的空间可能不会那么复杂，但是它所拥有的资源却非常丰富，包括自然气候的资源，还有就地取材的建筑材料。同时，乡村建筑，尤其是传统的乡土民居，更是去呈现了一个地域的文化特征，还有生态智慧。我们现在看到的这张照片是非洲布基纳法索的一个乡村建筑，这是一所科技学院，似乎看起来比较简陋，采用了当地的乡土材料，但形式上却有了现代建筑的感觉，看得出来是用了一个很简单的构造方式去回应了当地的炎热气候，兼顾了自然通风和自然采光的需求。事实上，大家可能知道，这是今年刚刚获得普利兹克奖，也就是相当于建筑界的奥斯卡奖的首位非洲建筑师凯雷。他的作品大多根植于他的家乡布基纳法索，里面有很多的人文和可持续的体现。他的获奖也是一个建筑学的风向标，也就是建筑学这个领域越来越去关注乡村的生态潜力。那么我们怎么从系统思维去思考这个看起来非常庞大的建筑体系呢？其实建筑自己就是一个系统。如果从热力学或者系统生态学的视角来看，建筑是外界的气候包裹着的一个系统环境，人在建筑中的这个行动空间又是一个小的系统。那么根据这个热力学的定律，作为一个开放的系统，建筑需要不断的去和周围气候环境进行一个能量交换，才能维持自身的平衡和秩序。在系统生态学的这个语境下，系统和气候之间的交互关系里面的能量流动是非常复杂的。这里面机制就包含了建筑去生态建造的潜力，建筑是要适应气候，还是说抵抗气候，能够从气候中获得多少资源。这张图展示的是全世界30个气候分区，甚至同一个分区下的地方气候还有很大的区别。所以为了适应气候，全世界的民居都有各自的这个显著特点。比如说干热地区的民居墙体是很厚的因为他们需要抵抗这个过量的太阳辐射。湿热的地区墙体一般是通透的开敞的，因为他们最大的需求是自然通风来减少一个闷热的感觉。这个是我们这个团队过去做的一些我们国家的乡土民居的生态建造的研究。因为中国是一个地域广博、气候多样的国家，所以拥有非常非常丰富多样的乡土建造智慧。那么这个也是我的团队在浙江义乌的一个村子做的一个实地研究。实地研究呢是包括对当地这个物理环境的测量。做这些研究是有目标的，是为了提取出这些传统民居生态机制的内核，将这个经验应用转移到当地的新的乡土建筑设计中。这些民居的生态机制可以提取成为原型，通过参数化的智能设计方法转化成当代的建筑语言，并且进行创新。比如这张图里面的院落窗格图示的创新，其实上就是基于民居的原型对采光和通风的优化得出的。这样的设计就不是带着纯粹的设计师的主观判断，而是有了一个科学的依据。乡土的原型甚至可以转译成更大型的、更复杂的建筑。比如说，这个是我主要参与设计研究的山东东营黄河口的一个游客码头，它是由当地山东东营地方的当地民居的空间模式，还有建筑材料， 夯土材料，我们进行了一个更新和再创作，经过设计的创新转译而得来的。最后我以一段不是太像结语的话来作为结语。这段话也是刚才提过的这个今年普利兹克获得奖的这个凯雷，他在一次采访中说的。他说，风塔是真的能够起到作用的。如果你去到学校，孩子们会拉着你的手说穿过教室的风。风塔是一个他做的当地传统民居的一个简单的构造。这句话是非常重要的，说明了设计师介入这个创造的这个重要性。设计是真的能够产生作用的，真的能够为这个世界的可持续愿景做出可见的贡献。这是我们作为青年设计师能够参与事件、参与对话的一个很重要的途径。Thank you everyone.
Thank you very much, Professor. A fascinating presentation, and your work, we understand, is absolutely important, and the work you are doing in a large metropolis like Shanghai, for example, and the work you are doing in even in small villages in the large Chinese countryside. Thank you also for mentioning the very important and significant work of C.E.A., this architect from Burkina Faso. And I was personally also very moved when you explained to us that your students, they have chosen to focus on one of the Sustainable Development Goals, the one connected with hunger. And I think what is happening in terms of food waste is simply a tragedy. And all of us also, we need to think about how to stop this tragedy. So thank you very much, Professor. Now we are after Xiamen, Tianjin, and Shanghai. We are going to go to Europe. We are going to go to Ireland, and we will give the floor to Mr. Darren O'Connell, who is a true entrepreneur, and I'm sure that you will be stimulated by what Mr. O'Connell has to say. Let us welcome Mr. Darren O'Connell, founder and CEO of Relabs Green Gym.
Thank you for the invitation to talk at this China, Europe, American net zero transition. My name is Darren O'Connell, and I'm very excited to speak today about youth for sustainable development goals and climate action. Let me introduce the topic that we are passionate about. It's called planetary health. Now, planetary health sounds like a big, complex topic, which it is, but let us simplify it for you. Planetary health simply introduces how our human health is impacted by the environment we live. There's a clear understanding that we cannot live healthy without a healthy environment and a healthy planet. Let me introduce this story with some statistics, starting with good news. The human population is healthier than ever before. Child mortality, the amount of children under the age of 5, is on the decrease. Poverty, mostly because of China's progress in the last years, also on the steady decrease. While good news, life expectancy, we're living longer, healthier lives than ever before. In the 1950s, the average lifespan was around 47 years. Today, it's up around 74, 75, which is great news for our human population. To achieve this, we've exploited the environment and our planet's natural resources. Take a look at the water use in the last 100 years on a sharp incline. We're cutting down more tropical rainforests to create more space for agriculture, while our oceans are becoming a bit more acidic, threatening life below water. Carbon dioxide emissions have also been on the increase, while we continue to use more energy to fuel our production and the big cities that most of us live in today. The amount of fertilizers we're using to grow enough crops to feed our animals, but also the humans that are on the planet, is also on the increase. As we look to the future, our current path adds more and more pressure to the planet. Today, our current population is around 7.6 billion people. By 2050, it's expected that population will grow up to 9.6 billion people. In order to feed these, we'll have to use a lot more grain and also use a lot more water to support the extra people. So I believe we have space for 2 more billion people. I'm just a bit concerned that we don't have the natural resources to support it. I came across this image around 10 years ago when I was doing consulting work for WWF, and I think this image is a great summary for the topic we're talking about today. This is an artist's impression in Europe of politicians talking about climate change. And you can see in this image, we don't have enough time to talk about this thing. We need to take action, which is what this conference is all about. I also came across this image. Now, I'm a passionate fitness enthusiast. I used to be a personal trainer for many years. And when I saw this for me was a clear image that us humans cannot live healthy without a healthy environment, which looped me into this whole topic of planetary health. And this got me thinking, can exercise improve the environment? Is there anything we can do more that can help improve the environment in our day-to-day lives? So I set up this company called Relabs, short for Regeneration Labs. We're a team building and corporate wellness company. And if you look at our logo and you dissect it into the 2 parts, you can see that we clearly care about improving the health of people while also improving the planet at the same time, because they're interconnected. We're a social enterprise, which means that we balance making profit while also having a good impact. Our mission is to get more people active while improving the environment. You can see that we have reshaped some of the Sustainable Development Goals on the topics that we care most about. So our primary objective is to improve the health of people while also improving the environment at the same time, like I mentioned, because they're interconnected. You can see some sample activities we've been doing in Shanghai and across China the last few years. This one was with Ping An. So we brought some of their employees running in the area around their office. In 1 hour activity, 70 employees collected over 200 kg of urban trash, burning many calories and running lots of distances together as a great team building activity. We also brought some friends from Hilton Hotel Group to do a beach cleanup, while also thinking how their hotels could maybe be more sustainable and have less impact on the environment, like single-use plastics, which a lot of their hotels have already eliminated. And also, we've done a lot of corporate wellness programs. This 1-month program with Roche, where 15 of their team leaders were submitting daily steps. Okay, their goal was to reach 1.5 million steps in a 1-month target. And by doing so, in the end, they reached 1.4 million, which is still a great amount. It's almost 26 marathons worth. And in return, we planted 14 trees. All of the activities we've been doing up to now have been tailor-made. In order for us to scale our activities and to have more impact, we're building a corporate wellness platform. So we want to use technology to help accelerate our impact. It's similar to the activities we've done before. It focuses on the mission of getting employees active while inducing healthy competition. In return, by focusing on these 2, we will then have a positive impact by planting bamboo trees. So for example, for every 10,000 calories that the employees burn, we will plant 1 bamboo tree. And that's what healthy competition is all about. The more we do, the more we can give back to the environment. So we're very excited that we're going to be launching this platform at the end of this year. If you'd like to join us to learn more, feel free to connect. And once again, thank you so much for the opportunity for us to share our story and the activities that we're doing.
Thank you very much, Darren, for this wonderful presentation of a social entrepreneur. And clearly the work you are doing is very important. We saw the connection also with what the HELAS group is doing, the centrality, of course, of health. And I have to tell you, dear Darren, that already the population of the world is approaching 8 billion people. And I think we will reach 8 billion people this very month. And this is a good news, because you have insisted on also the progress, talking about life expectancy, but also a massive challenge. And I am insisting on that because demography is a key element if one wants to understand the larger picture of sustainability. Now, in your presentation, you spoke about water. It's such a pleasure for me to introduce Professor Chu Yunjie from the very prestigious Shanghai Institute for International Studies, because, Professor, you are doing research at the intersection of climate change and water. And water is a key element, of course, of our work, clearly vital. And we did not discuss water as such enough during this conference. So it's a great pleasure to have you, Professor. The floor is yours. Okay.
Hello, I would like to share my PPT, and it is my honor to participate in this event. And I would like to introduce this this topic in Chinese.
谢谢你。
谢谢，非常荣幸能够参与到这个这中欧美近邻行动平台的这个论坛当中，然后呢，也非常荣幸能够就是来介绍这个今天想要讲的这个主题，就是加速绿色金融在南美地区气候风险预警系统建设中的这个参与。这个题目比较啰嗦，但其实主要就是为了针对就是在南美地区现在所面临的这个气候风险，以及当前所迫切需要在全球布置的这个预警系统呢，通过绿色金融这个角度去做一些倡议吧。那么我简单来介绍一下这个气候灾害风险预警系统啊，它简称就是这个 Early Warning System。它其实作为一项这个非常作为一项就是非常重要的一个气候适应的工具呢，主要是包含就是对气候灾害的这个情况的这个数据采集、分析，以及做出提前的警报和灾前的一个反应。那么这一项工具在应用的过程当中呢，能够保证就是当地居民在应对每一次当地的这个气候灾害的时候呢，能够做出更加充分的准备，减少更多的损失。那么联合国秘书长古特雷斯呢，也是近年来多次强调气候灾害风险预警系统的重要性，并且在今年的 COP27 的这个会议上呢，在前天公布了一项就是未来5年的一个全民预警系统计划，计划拨款就是31亿美元，作为预警系统的在全球布置的这么一个启动资金。这个资金呢，就是从这个关注它这个项目的角度来看呢，因为它其实从总量上呢占到就是这个国家申请的这个500亿美元的这个总的这个适应资金的6%，所以我们考虑到就是这个量是否足够于满足就是全球，尤其是在蓝莓地区的这个预警系统的布置的。蓝莓地区呢，主要包括就是中国西藏、云南地区，以及缅甸、老挝、泰国、柬埔寨和越南这几个国家。那么主要是围绕就是澜沧江和湄公河，这一带的就是以水环境为主的这个气候方面的灾害治理，水体的治理以及相关的合作。那么在风险预警，在讲风险预警系统之前呢，先讲一下为什么要提这个蓝莓地区啊？是因为，蓝莓地区六个所涉及的域内的6个国家，其中有3个国家在过去的20年内被一些权威机构评价为就是最受全球的这个气候变化事件影响的10大国家之一。有3个国家，而且呢。最近的20年呢，南美地区总共发生自然灾害有数百次，所造成的经济损失是达到了92亿美元，甚至现在已经可能近100亿美元了，就是达到就是在古特雷斯宣布的这一项预警系统的这个拨款34美元的将近的3倍以上，所以说呢，而且从就是目前的就是全球气候极端化的这个趋势来看呢，在达到全球这个碳中和的这个情况之前，它的趋势是不会停止的，而且会愈演愈烈。对于像南美地区这样有多个气候脆弱国家， 存在的这么比较集中的这个地方来看呢，它的气候韧性是急需来强化的。这个强化的点呢，主要就是预警系统。那么从另外一个角度，就从综合收益的角度来看呢，也有一些相关的研究，在欧洲的以及包括全球气候适应委员会所做的一些发展中国家的一些投资与回报的研究来看呢，其实综合收益上投入预警机制可以带来大量的回报。因此呢，在南美地区，抓紧就是风险预警的这个布置呢，是有利于它就是强化自己的气候韧性，以及增加自己在地方的收益的。那么要增加这个投资，它就需要一些绿色金融机制的介入。那么在这个介入的过程当中呢，它很有可能会遭遇3个方面比较主要的问题。那第一个问题呢，就是由于域内国家的这个历史冲突啊，还有就是域外的这些就是因为当前国际竞争呈现就是越来越激烈这么一个趋势，那么就是一些主要大国在介入到就是南美地区的参与到南美地区的一些治理过程当中呢，通常是以一种域内和域外国家相合作的形式。那么不同的这种域内域外国家，在合作的过程当中呢，它的业务范围可能会有一些重复，那么就可能使一些地方原有的冲突呢升级。这种升级呢，就可能导致就是域内的合作它就受阻的话，从更加宏观的层面来看的话，就是这些气候融资想要参与到南美地区的这个路径呢，就变得更加碎片化。第二呢，就是由于在南美地区这些国家呢，本来自身对于气候灾害的这个应急韧性建设，它的需求功能的需求也好，本身的背景也好，都是各有差异。再加上呢，他们这些国家本身所具备的对于就是气候灾害应对的这个人才储备上面，知识储备上面都是相对来说比较浅显，主要是通过大量的钱来堆项目。这就导致呢，这些项目当中呢，就出现一些就是短周期缺监管，甚至于烂尾的一些情况，导致于项目之间或者项目前后项目的这些接轨，都是比较困难的，也造成了一些就是财政上的一些浪费。第三呢，就是目前主要的一些气候预警的一些工程呢，主要是集中在于基建的投入，但是呢，气候预警其实它是软硬兼施的，是需要两者去相结合的。从之前的一个孟加拉国的一个飓风系统当中一个案例当中呢，它主要是通过大量的人才培养和志愿者对他们的知识储备，来支撑他们这么一个飓风预警系统的有效运作，来应对气候风险的。但在南美地区呢，它就需要加强，就是一方面是社区层面的科普。风险意识的强化，以及对于就是专业的参与到就是预警系统当中，去工作，去帮助就是地方去强化气候韧性和那个增强就是预警的这个能力，这方面的投入。那么从就是因为前面3个方面都是涉及到这个钱的投入。所以呢，我就从3个方面讲了一些建议，先讲一些建议。这个建议呢，第一呢，就是希望能够从一个更大视野下的成本收益角度，来看待就是这些金融合作机制。第一呢，就是让主体多样化，就是让政府、国际组织和私营部门呢，多个主体参与到这个绿色金融的这个投资过程当中来，然后以更大视野的成本收益呢，就是在预警建设的这个机制的建设的这个投入当中呢，它基本上是天使投资，但是从比如说灾后的运营，卫生领域的公共支出，还有一些其他就是公共领域，能够产生一些经济效益的地方，或者说预算削减的地方，它能够带来更大的收益。那么 通过多主体的运营，以多个项目相融合的方式呢，可以形成更好的就是一个收益效果，也会带动更多的这些投资主体参与进来。第二呢，就是秉承一个可持续发展本地化的这么一个最新趋势啊，利用就是当前全球比较成熟的一些预警系统，将它们本地化引入到就是南美地区来，将这些机制直接落地，这样的话能够更快的去实现这个投资的目的。第三呢，就是比较目前大家谈的比较多的就是透明化和共享灾害数据，让数据呢为投资提供更加明确的方向，来做一个方法学和工具箱投资决策。最后呢，就是我希望大家来一起关注一下，就是今年7月份的一个南昌江湄公河合作的第7次外长会。那么在这个外长会过程当中呢，中国外长宣布，就是中国作为负责任大国，将牵头域内多个南美地区的这个气候合作。这里呢包括就是通过水资源合作以及环境合作战略行动框架以及合作论坛来讨论一些关于风险预警投资的项目。谢谢。以上就是我的一些简单的介绍。谢谢。
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor. Sorry. Thank you very much, Professor, for this very important presentation. And of course, clearly you were looking at Southeast Asia, but I could not help not to think about what happened in terms of flooding with Nigeria this year, and the absolute tragedy of Pakistan with 1/3 of the country underwater. So this is a huge issue, and 2,000 people died, and estimated the $40 billion US of economic losses. This is absolutely a major issue, and thank you for researching on that and providing such constructive and important suggestions. Now, Professor Wang Hua has arrived in his hotel in Paris. It was a long trip, I imagine. But what I suggest, Professor, is you join us in the conclusion. Very briefly, you will share with us your ideas on the sustainability and the journey to net zero. I will give now the floor to Ryan Casey. Of course, by nature here, we care a lot about the relationship between China, Europe, and the US at the China-Europe-America Net Zero Transition Platform. So it's a great pleasure for me to welcome Ryan Casey from the United States of America. And Ryan is ambassador of the China-Europe-America Youth Program, another initiative of the China-Europe-America Global Initiative.
The decision to pursue a greener future starts and ends with consumers, particularly young consumers. Young consumers dictate fashion and cultural trends, and they're often the most vocal about universal goals like equal access to food, healthcare, education, and other resources. But do today's current youth really understand what it means to be a truly net zero world? Are we making good choices, or are we just following the messages laid out by marketing agencies? Let me give you some examples based on my personal experience. The company that I work for, TPHS Commodities Group, buys and sells agricultural byproducts to dozens of countries all over the world. Our company started out buying cattle hides and pork skins to be further manufactured for the leather industry. The manufacturing process is simple. We cut the excess fat and meat off of the hide, cut off any loose pieces of skin, and make a square-shaped pattern, and then we palletize and export to countries like China and all over the world. Over time, we realized that the fat and meat that comes off of our hides, instead of throwing it in the trash, could be cooked down. We could use the grease to create biodiesel, a sustainable fuel source. We could blend the meat down to create fertilizer or sell it for pet food. And the scraps of skin that we cut off the hide could be further processed into collagen and gelatin. So we took an animal hide, a dirty, nasty, smelly byproduct that no one wants to touch, and turned it into a whole portfolio of value-added commodities. These initiatives reduced our waste going into the landfill and created new profit centers for the company, allowing us to grow. In another TPHS group initiative, we started recycling our broken wooden pallets, cardboard combos, and plastic packaging. We were able to reduce our trash going into the landfill by almost 30%. Instead, now we're selling these waste items to a recycling company who gives us a credit against our trash bill just for separating out the reusable materials. So we have less waste going into the landfill, which saves us money. We get an additional credit from the recycling company, which lowers our trash bill every month, and we're doing something good for the environment. We even have employees who recycle their soda cans at lunch to try and increase the benefit to the company and to the program. Although not every company has the opportunity to create responsible and environmentally friendly product lines that also add back to their bottom line, these are just a few examples which illustrate how doing the right thing can be profitable for the company as well as equitable for the world. However, it's the job of consumers to seek out companies that follow these sustainable practices. Consumers need to research the products they buy, not just to see where they are made, but also how they are made. What materials went into the process? How are those materials made? Is a manufacturer using green energy or following sustainable practices? How do you know? Young consumers need to get on Google and start searching. When you see a label that says this item was produced sustainably with zero carbon impact, what does that mean? Is the company actually manufacturing responsibly, or do they just pay someone for a credit to offset their carbon output? A recent trend in the fashion industry was to use vegan leather to replace animal leather in items like shoes and car seats. The marketers of vegan leather argued that animal leather was bad for the environment because it led to more slaughter, more carbon and methane emissions, and that vegan leather provided a cleaner alternative solution. Millions of people, and even some big brands, bought into this message. Tesla started manufacturing car seats made from vegan leather. Nike and other shoe brands quickly converted their production lines from manufacturing animal leather to manufacturing vegan leather. But what is vegan leather? It's polyurethane, a common plastic made from oil and gas byproducts. What's more sustainable, reusing the skin of an animal which has already been killed for its meat, or refining and re-refining oil and gas to create a new textile called vegan leather? A few years into this new trend, Tesla owners started reporting that their car seats were starting to have bubbles in them. And how many of you remember when now NBA All-Star Zion Williamson was in his final year at Duke and almost blew out his knee because his polyurethane shoes, the polyurethane shoes he was wearing were made of a cheap, environmentally unfriendly plastic. I don't mean to sound like a lobbyist, but these are great examples of what consumers need to look out for. Both of these items were marketed as environmentally friendly, and consumers paid a premium for vegan leather, which now turned out to be lower quality and worse for the environment. Consumers need to get away from looking at the label. Don't buy something because of the brand or because it's in vogue. Buy it because it's made responsibly, manufactured using best practices from long-lasting and sustainable raw materials. That's the benefit of consumerism. Individuals have the powers to choose what they buy. Young people need to adapt their purchasing habits and do their homework on the company and products they're supporting. If we all do this, then companies will be forced to adapt their manufacturing practices and marketing efforts to conform to what consumers want, and that's ultimately what's going to give us a more sustainable future.
Thank you very much, Ryan. It is an important message that you are sending now, and all of us, we need to be alert to the problem of greenwashing, because I think you are having in mind the concept of greenwashing. Now, I am especially happy to give the floor to the last speaker of this last session of our second day, because I said that we had 3 outstanding universities involved, Overseas University, Nankai University, and Tongji University. But in Shanghai, there is a wonderful school whose name is China-Europe International Business School, which has been for years a very important bridge between China and the world, especially China and Europe, and with Mr. Cédric Devroy, Senior Vice President at United Trademarks Group. We are connected with CIBS because Mr. Devroy is the president of the CEABS Alumni International Chapter, and I have the pleasure to know the activities of this chapter, and it is an example of leadership that you are showing, Mr. Devroy. So it's a great pleasure and honor for me to introduce you today and to give you the floor. Mr. Devroy, the floor is yours.
The honor is completely mine, Professor. Thank you so much, Professor Gosset, for this incredibly kind introduction and invitation. I'm inspired by what my co-panelists have been sharing so far. This is an incredibly stimulating conversation. Again, nothing but gratefulness from my side. The alumni chapter I had indeed provides opportunities for its members to connect and do business with each other. It is an association with a strong business community with members from China, Europe, and the US. I pay attention to the voice of a young generation of business leaders, one that holds perhaps different views, a generation of young business leaders that feels very strong about climate action and perhaps thinks too little, too late. I have the feeling that the younger generation of entrepreneurs and business leaders is one that sees the Paris Agreement as too much, perhaps, of a compromise. So what I would like to do with the precious time that I am given is to emphasize one clear message, and it is that engaging more with young business leaders and their views should be the premise for change. That conversation and connection need to be continued and fostered if we expect change through action to unfold. So what I will do is I will highlight a set of 5 practical guidelines how youth and young managers can and should contribute. What I'm about to say is nothing new. You are all very familiar with the need for intergenerational equity, which is a guiding principle that was already recognized and reaffirmed, I believe, in the preamble of the Paris Agreement, right? That principle guarantees that future generations have an expectation, a legitimate expectation of access, equitable access to resources. Now, let me highlight the most obvious. We can all agree that youth in a nation is one of the most viable potential human resource. Without youth's development, a nation simply cannot attain its goals. So therefore, an inclusive effort is needed to face global challenges. And that is something that we heard already earlier today with Professor Wang Jianhua in his speech. Everyone, including youth, needs to meaningfully contribute. In other words, the success of sustainability is incomplete without a dedication from youth to climate action and environmental sustainability. Now that brings me to the question of my session. How can youth contribute, and what role can youth and young business leaders play to shape the support to the SDG? First and foremost, I think of youth as critical thinkers, asking questions. They have the capacity to identify and challenge existing power structures. Secondly, I see youth as change makers. Some will argue troublemakers. I see they're change makers. Young people have the power to act. They have the power to mobilize others. And this is made even more possible by access to social media. A third point, they should and can contribute as innovators. Young entrepreneurs best understand the problems they face and can offer new ideas and alternative solutions, right? This is all about fresh perspectives. They are far better communicators. Few people are aware, actually, that world leaders have come to a far-reaching agreement. Young people, young managers should be partners in communicating the development agenda with their peers, with their communities. That is something that is happening now. We need much more of this. And a last point that I wish to emphasize, how youth can contribute. Youth is an inspiring leader, right? Young managers are inspiring leaders. The young managers can drive change in their communities and countries, equipped with leadership skills, especially in a world today where multinationals play such an important role. I believe that improvements can and will come by business and youth leading the way. So these are 5 simple ways in which the younger generation could and should get more involved. If the younger segment of our population does not get an equal right of participation, it is often merely because plans and programs for entrepreneurs, for youth, are still through government initiatives and NGOs. In fact, related literature indicates that regardless of regions, young people, young managers, and entrepreneurs face several socio-cultural problems where they cannot grow and empower themselves adequately. As a result, they often cannot play their important roles in sustainable development and in change. So to conclude, my message is relatively simple. The voices and contributions of young managers, of business leaders, of youth are vital to reach a net zero economy, an approach that puts an inclusive mindset to the front. With commitment from public and private, young managers and entrepreneurs have the potential to be the most effective agents of change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Cédric Devroy, and for the work you are doing as a business leader, but also as a connector. And in your last words, a concept also very important is the effectiveness of what we are doing. We need to walk the talk, and to go beyond rhetoric, even if it's a beautiful rhetoric, or posturing. And yes, you and your colleagues in Shanghai, across the world, you are change makers. So thank you very much. It was a message echoing what Professor Godard was saying while he was chairing the session on eco-fashion, the fact that this world also, because of people like you, is full of hope, and the challenges are severe, but we have the knowledge, the technology, the finance, the human resources to solve and to tackle the challenges. Thank you very much again to Professor Wang Tianhua, Luo Qingshan, Tao Seming, Darren O'Connell, Chu Yunjie, Ryan Kazi from the United States of America, and you, Mr. Cédric Devroy. Now it's time for me to go to the conclusion, and it's going to be a very interesting conclusion, probably to open new perspectives. And we are very happy that in this conclusion, we will also listen to the wisdom of Professor William Wang, who leads another fantastic business school known for entrepreneurship, EM Lyon Business School. Then we will listen also to Professor Godard. We will have a short message from Mr. Gianberto Giraldo, the chairman of C.E.A, but it is my great pleasure, and it is also with gratitude, that now that I'm going to give the floor to Madame Yang Ping, who is the Vice President of the Academy of Contemporary China and World Studies, our strategic partner. And through you, Madame, I would like to thank all your colleagues, all the leadership of your very important think tank. And once again, your trust for us is a profound, deep encouragement. Madame Yang Ping, the floor is yours.
好，谢谢高大伟先生。尊敬的各位专家学者、各位朋友，大家好。首先祝贺论坛的成功举办。经过2天来的热烈的讨论，大家达成了很多的共识。首先也要感谢各位专家、各位朋友的参与，能够聆听到各位嘉宾分享的真知灼见，受益匪浅。特别要感谢高大伟先生组织了这场重要的3方对话活动。本次会议围绕促进可持续发展的绿色金融方法与挑战，慈善机构与非营利组织如何更好地为可持续发展做贡献，环保时尚运动的活力与挑战，青年在实现可持续发展目标和气候行动中的作用等4个议题，邀请了40余位中外嘉宾与会，从广度和深度上对净零行动合作进行了务实探讨和交流，再次确认落实格拉斯哥气候公约的重要性和紧迫性。与会专家提出了科学、客观、具备人文情怀和可持续操作的建议，和具有可操作性的建议，观点非常具有启发性。当前世界面临严重的气候危机，气候风险成为全球面临的最大风险之一，关乎人类未来的生存与发展。为应对日益紧迫的气候变化问题，国际社会付出了诸多的努力，如通过联合国气候变化框架公约、签署京都议定书、达成巴黎协定等等。但相较于危机发展的速度，人类的行动仍显迟缓。我们必须认识到，要保护我们赖以生存的家园，必须践行多边主义，深化人类命运共同体意识， 通过团结来增强人类社会发展的可持续性和复原力。在应对气候危机的过程中，不仅需要科学决策，也需要多主体的参与。各方智库凝聚共识，精诚合作，将有助于进一步推动解决气候危机。中国高度重视生态文明建设，中国的生态文明建设以习近平主席生态文明思想为指引和根本遵循，取得了举世瞩目的成就，在全球环境治理中承担起越来越多的国际责任和义务，也提出了多项生态文明建设的中国方案。一直以来，我们当代中国与世界研究院都在关注气候治理与可持续发展等等议题，围绕相关议题搭建交流平台，推动务实合作。未来，我们将继续用好中欧美近邻行动平台等渠道，为完善全球气候治理、推动人类可持续发展贡献更多的智慧。在本次会议即将结束之际，再次感谢各位嘉宾的热情参与和支持，祝福各位身体健康，万事如意。谢谢大家。
非常感谢杨女士的精彩发言 and indeed I think we have reached a series of consensus. I was also very happy to hear the fact that you emphasize the importance of multilateralism, absolutely key. And what also gives me, and I think us, a lot of hope is the fact that China indeed is committed to the building of ecological civilization. And what China does is of global consequence. So it adds to the chapter of hope. Now, Madame Yang Ping, please allow me to introduce the Professor Louis Godard for some brief concluding remarks. And Professor, thank you so much for staying with us so long, but it is always very interesting for all of us to listen to your impressions. So we leave this conversation maybe even more inspired. Professor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Gosset. And thank you very much for organizing this fantastic second dialogue, China, Europe, America, Net Zero Transition Platform. During these 2 days, eminent personalities from the world of research, business and culture addressed the issues related to net zero. The answers given to avert the current dramatic situation that our planet is experiencing require an unanimous response. It is good to remember that alone no one can hope to save himself. It was pointed out in the documents promoting our second meeting on this subject that the Glasgow conference indicated the way forward, and Glasgow's warning is clear. Global warming. Remember, dear friends, what President Chirac said in 2002 in Johannesburg. Our house is burning and we look the other way. Today we must not only contemplate in amazement the flames that devour our home, but we must fight to extinguish them. There are, I do believe, 3 reasons for hope to the horizon. The conference we have attended is a first reason for hope. Professor Gosset gathering many personalities from all over the world showed that there is a global awareness of the problem. On the other hand, how could it not be so? Climate change, characterized by hot summers, lack of benefic rainfall, devastating floods caused by atrocious water bombs that destroy and bring death everywhere, fires that devour the forest heritage are some of the alarm bells that leave no doubt about the urgency of the intervention required of all the peoples of the planet. A second reason of hope is the inclusion in the political discourse of the need to devote a fundamental chapter to the net zero theme. President Lula's victory in Brazil is a cause for joy for all those who care about the fate of the planet. During the presidential terms of Lula's predecessor, 4,000 square kilometers, 40,000 square kilometers of the Amazon were destroyed. A terrible cancer threatened the green lungs of our planet. It is a source of hope to hear that President Lula affirms that the Amazon is in some way a heritage of the whole humanity and not just part of Brazilian territory, and that he will commit himself to protecting the priceless treasure. I see a third reason for hope in young people. As a teacher, I have seen over the last 20 years a great deal of attention to ecological issues born and developed in young people. The new generation that is preparing to take the destiny of the states of the world into its own hands has understood that it is necessary to change course to save the earth. When I was in Peru a few years ago, a colleague archaeologist said to me, inviting me to toast our meeting, first, let's have a libation to Pachamama, to Mother Earth. And I said before, Mother Earth is the first divinity of the Greek pantheon. And this colleague repeated a gesture that the people of pre-Columbian America always did. We must learn from the ancient people of America, from the ancient people of all the world, that the great Mother Earth deserves respect and must be protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your wisdom. And once again, to repeat the importance of Mother Earth. Mother Earth. Professor, I go to another professor, and thank you, Professor William Wang, for your continuing support. We are very proud to be supported by your great school, which is at the intersection of the many topics that we have been discussing. So please, Professor, in a very brief way, please tell us what are the messages that you would like to convey as a conclusion. Thank you, Professor.
Thanks a lot, David, for inviting me and being integrated into this great event of China, Europe, America Net Zero Transition Platform. In fact, I've just landed at Paris after 26 hours trip from leaving the home in Shanghai to the moment by setting up at the hotel. Well, in between there's the traffic jam in Paris. It seems that this is a good sign of economic recovery, while also drives us to continue to think about the future carbon reduction. And luckily enough, that EU has announced that by 2035, all new cars manufactured for the EU market should produce zero emissions. So this must be a disruptive change for both car makers and future consumers. I managed to catch half of the session 4, and we see that young leaders, entrepreneurs, are taking the initiative on various topics like the water and the climate change by Professor Zhu Yingjie, the ecotourism and the green gene by Darren Cornell, and in fact he is the alumni of E.M. Leung Business School. And there's also the discussion about the new consumers and the new ways of producing product by minimizing the waste. This has been addressed by Ryan Casey, among the others. So coming to the topic about the China, I think that it's still on the top agenda, because if we take a look on the energy consumption, China compared to OECD is 3 times. And China compares to the average level of world production is about 1.5 times. So still there is a significant need between the technology cooperation on the East and the West, so as to reduce the energy consumption and in such way to contribute to the climate. As the E.M. Leung Business School, this year we are celebrating 150 years, together with other participants like Huaqiao University, Nankai, Tongji SIBS. We are also actively contributing in this field. E.M. Leung Business School is one of the few business schools that has been certified as a B Corp company. And in a concrete manner, we have requested the professor, the experts from the industry to deliver the content about SDG or CSR in all of our programs and in all each courses. So this is a concrete action that we are educating young, responsible talents, and hope that in the future we can bring more concrete examples as we have brought today via the experience sharing by our alumni like Darren Cornell. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. And before I deliver myself a very, very, very short conclusion, it is very important for me, and it's a pleasure and honor to give the floor to Mr. Gianberto Girardo, the chairman of C.E.A, and Intesa San Paolo, without which we would not be able to have this dialogue today. Let us welcome Mr. Gianberto Girardo.
Dear David, congratulations for the great success of the second dialogue on net zero transition. Thank you for having given me the opportunity to join and to listen to keynote addresses and the 4 important sessions discussions. We have one more time highlighted how the net zero transition is fundamental strategy to be implemented, but we have also highlighted one more time how it's impacting several aspects of our lives. Thank you again, congratulations, and I share my warmest greetings to all the participants to this meeting.
Thank you very much, dear Gianberto. Of course, many thanks to the participants, many thanks to Madame Yang Ping, to Professor Louis Godard, to Professor William Wang for their time in the conclusion. But I also would like to thank so many colleagues, Ling Weiwei, Jia Chunchun, Li Defei, Chen Yakwen, Chen Dan, Xu Zhongzhong, our 2 fantastic interpreters, Miss Bao Yilwen and Miss Pan Ling, and last but not least, Madame Ling Ke Ya. you see, it has been a very fruitful, productive meeting, and I would like to tell you two more things. I think the only fact that we are having the conversation is important in a world in which we have the temptation to decouple. Let us not decouple, let us find ways to recouple. And to a certain extent, this is what we are doing. And yesterday, I concluded the first two sessions by using the notion of Anthropocene. And I was thinking how to define this very stimulating concept. So, of course, the era of the human impact on geology and ecosystems. But I would say also the Anthropocene, in my eyes, is a time of disharmony, not harmony, but disharmony between man and nature. And what we need to do is to march the long march of re-harmonization between man and man, man and nature, and as you said, Professor Louis Godard, between man and Mother Earth. It is why we are going to continue the march. I hope you support the movement. And as Margaret Kahn said, what is important is not the destination, but the journey itself. Thank you very much. 谢谢大家, and I hope we meet soon, at least next year. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. 谢谢大家.